Hey guys, I'm here just giving my Nintendo E3 predictions. I want to preface by saying I wrote these predictions on Wednesday, June 2nd. I'm recording this on Friday the 4th. While writing these, I was firmly believing that the Switch Pro was going to be announced before E3, although since then a lot has changed and it's looking way more unlikely now, so some of these predictions may be inaccurate due to the new hardware not technically existing during this point in time. Nintendo recently officially announced their E3 Direct and Treehouse plans and schedule. According to Nintendo, tune in for a Nintendo Direct with roughly 40 minutes of info focused exclusively on Nintendo Switch software mostly releasing in 2021, followed by around 3 hours of gameplay in Nintendo Treehouse Live E3 2021. First, I will start with what I believe will open the show, and that is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Fighter Pass 2. At this point, I think it is absolutely impossible to predict just who these final two characters will be. I'm thinking Fighter 10 will be a big third-party character, and that Fighter 11 will be a first-party character, maybe a Galar Pokemon. Some people think that the last fighter will be super exciting and a big mind-blowing character, but the base roster ended with Incineroar, and the last Fighter's Pass ended with Ballad, so I'm not expecting the most exciting character to be the last one. I'm going to just go out on a limb and say that the next fighter is Crash Bandicoot, based off of no evidence whatsoever. It is hard to tell if we will get both the remaining fighters announced or just one. I'm leaning towards only one fighter since this fighter's pass will finish up around December. That leaves plenty of time for the final fighter to be announced in a fall Nintendo Direct or just a Sakurai livestream similar to when Steve was revealed last year. I'm also predicting that there will be no Fighters Pass 3 or any extra characters beyond these final two. Many interviews with Sakurai have shown that he is alluding to the fact that this is the final pass. I would love for there to be more, but I think that these final two characters are it. I do think that getting one fighter announced during this Direct is an absolute 100% guarantee though. And then we have this fabled 2D Metroid game. I remember hearing rumors of this from Wabi Sabi back in February 2019 alongside rumors of Mario Maker 2, a 2D Zelda, and a new Box Boy, and all of those were shown in that February 2019 Direct. This Metroid title certainly exists and I fully expect it to be at this show. I expect it to be developed by Mercury Steam since they did such a fantastic job with Samus Returns on the 3DS. Some people want a Samus Returns port, and I think that would not be very exciting. I love Samus Returns, but a new game or a new remake would be much more exciting to me. I'm struggling with deciding if this new 2D Metroid will be a remake of some kind or a full-blown brand new title in this series. I'm hoping for a brand new game, but I've also heard rumblings of them remaking Super Metroid or Metroid Fusion, which would surely be controversial if Super Metroid gets a remake. Whether it is a remake or not, I think we will 100% see this game announced, and I'm going to predict a September or October launch. I want to say August, but that's a very quick turnaround, so we will see. And when I mentioned Metroid, I feel obligated to mention the two mother brain-sized elephants in the room, which are Metroid Prime Trilogy and Metroid Prime 4. Will we finally see them on June 15th? It is tough to say. I think they are a package deal. If we see one, we will see the other. Prime 4 was announced 4 years ago, and it's been 2.5 years since Nintendo announced that they restarted development and gave the project to Retro Studios. I think plenty of time has passed since then to show us at least a snippet of Prime 4. I think Nintendo cannot show Prime 4 without talking about the trilogy though. It's been a decade since Prime 3 on the Wii, and Metroid is known for its abysmal sales. Nintendo would be shooting themselves in the foot if they launched 4 without porting the trilogy beforehand. I think we have a fair chance of finally getting the trilogy announced and maybe it launching this year. I think it is either December or February 2022, to be honest. I'm leaning more towards February because that seems like a good slot for a smaller port. As for Prime 4, I think the absolute earliest it would launch is holiday 2022, but even that is a stretch. If we see that at E3, I'm not expecting even a hint of a release date for it. Overall, I think we have around a 70% chance of seeing Prime 4 and Prime Trilogy at this Direct. And next, we have Super Mario Party. Nintendo released sort of a reboot of Mario Party back in October 2018, and then just last month or so, they patched in online support for all the main modes. I think this patch was sort of a testing ground for the inevitable sequel. Way back when, Mario Party used to be a yearly franchise, and the lack of post-launch content makes me think that we're getting a sequel. Super Mario Party 2 would be a good fall game, but I could also see it releasing next year. I could also see them saving Mario Party for a fall Direct instead of announcing it here at E3, so I'll put its chances of being here at around 50%. I think that the sequel is 100% coming in the future though. And now we have Kirby. Kirby Star Allies released in early 2018 and received a fair amount of post-launch content, but the Kirby team is undoubtedly working on their next project. I for one am seriously hoping we get some sort of new experience with Kirby. We've been getting similar 2D style Kirby games since Return to Dreamland on the Wii. It seems the formula was perfected during Robobot on the 3DS, and Star Allies sort of took a step back. I cannot possibly think of what other gimmick they could come up with for a traditional 2D Kirby. I, for one, am hoping Kirby breaks into 3D, whether that is full 3D like Mario Odyssey or sort of a linear 3D similar to Mario 3D World, I don't know. Personally, I would be fine with either style. I could also see them making a Kirby spin-off, like maybe an RPG or an Air Ride successor. That's pretty unlikely, but a guy can dream. I have no idea which style of Kirby has the highest chance of existing, but I think we will 100% see a new entry in Kirby announced for 2022. Now for Donkey Kong. It has been something crazy like 7 years since Tropical Freeze launched on Wii U, and it has been just over 3 years since it was ported to Switch. Retro Studios is clearly not working on the Donkey Kong IP right now because they're fairly preoccupied with Metroid. Last month, Nintendo Life posted an article detailing a rumor that the 3D Mario team is working on a Donkey Kong project. Nintendo Life claims there are multiple reliable sources confirming this rumor, although it is unclear what type of style this game will be. Everyone is obviously hoping for a big 3D Donkey Kong Mario Odyssey type game, but Nintendo Life says their source is claiming a 2D game. I think a 2D game has a great chance of being really good since Tropical Freeze is a phenomenal game, but I don't think it would be as exciting as a 3D game. I've also always thought that Mario Odyssey 2 was in development, but if they're truly working on a big 3D DK game, I expect that to be the team's full focus. If the Donkey Kong game is 2D, then I think Odyssey's sequel could still be in development. I've also heard rumors that this game could be 2.5D, whatever that means. Not sure if that means a traditional 2D game with perspective changes, or top-down elements similar to Yooka-Laylee in the Impossible Lair, or if 2.5D means something like 3D World where it's 3D platforming, but in more of a 2D level style. Out of these three possibilities, I obviously want a full-fledged 3D DK the most, but I think this 2D or 2.5D is more likely. Whatever the project ends up being, I think it will 100% be at the E3 show, especially since DK is celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. Now on to Fire Emblem. I'm not really into this series and I still need to try Three Houses, but I think it may be time for a new Fire Emblem. I'm thinking a remake is more likely than a brand new game. I cannot tell you which game has the biggest chance of being remade because I have little knowledge of the series, but probably an older title and maybe one that was never released in the West. I'm honestly thinking Fire Emblem has a slightly lower chance of appearing just because of how much they'll prioritize other titles that I think are a shoo-in. I give it about a 50% chance of showing up, and I'll predict this game as a late or summer 2022 game whenever it gets announced. And now we have Atlas in the elusive Shin Megami Tensei 5. This game was first shown in the January presentation in early 2017. And last July, during the first ever Nintendo Direct Mini Partner Showcase, Atlas showed Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne HD Remaster coming to the West in spring 2021, and Shin Megami Tensei 5 coming worldwide in 2021. Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne HD just released a few weeks ago, so it is coming up on that time for Atlas to start marketing a new game. I think SMT5 has to be shown off here. It may not be a big blowout or anything, but I think we'll get our first glimpse of gameplay in a short trailer that ends with a holiday 2022 date. And actually, Shin Megami Tensei 5 was leaked last night and its supposed release date is November 11th, which is basically what I predicted. So yeah, this game will 100% be shown off during this Direct. This game isn't a first-party Nintendo title, but it's a big third-party exclusive that Nintendo is helping fund, so I thought it was worth mentioning. I've never tried the SMT series, but I'm excited for Shin Megami Tensei 5 and will most likely cop day 1. It is interesting that it's supposed to release 1 week before the Diamond and Pearl remakes though. I'm very excited to see a big-budget JRPG made specifically for the Switch. As for other Atlas news, I am personally hoping for console ports of the Persona series. At the very least, I am hoping that Persona 4 Golden finally gets ported to Switch and PlayStation. I'm not sure if Atlas would show something like that in the Direct, or if they'd opt to show that in another company's E3 presentation, but I hope it happens nonetheless. I think Persona 5 or Persona 5 Royal maybe have a 10% chance of getting a Switch port during this Direct, to be honest. I think Shin Megami Tensei 5 is a lock, however, especially due to the leaks from last night. And now on to Pokemon. The Pokemon Company usually likes to have a Pokemon Direct or Pokemon Presents the week before E3. I'm not super confident in this happening this time around, but these predictions can apply to either a Pokemon Direct or this general E3 Direct. Last week, Pokemon tweeted out the release dates for Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, which is November 19th, and they also announced that Pokemon Legends Arceus is coming on January 28, 2022. Neither game had a new trailer drop last week alongside their release date though. I think this is because they want to show these games running on upgraded Switch hardware, especially Legends Arceus. I've also seen Central Leaks on Twitter talk about how Legends will make massive use of the Switch Pro's upgraded power, and that the next trailer for Gen 4 remakes will show off how much the graphics have been improved since the initial trailer in February. I'm not sure if this graphic boost is due to them improving the chibi art style they chose, or if it's referring to a potential boost it may get on new hardware. I'm thinking they mean the former, but it is unclear. And these predictions may not be super accurate now because of the lack of confidence I have in the Switch Pro getting announced, but I think we do have a fair chance of seeing either game during Nintendo Treehouse and give kind of more a gameplay demo to show off what these games will look like when we finally get our hands on them later this year and early next year. Now I want to quickly touch on Splatoon 3. There's not much info, but I think we will see a new trailer at the very least. Maybe it'll focus on single player, or it may showcase some multiplayer changes. I'm also thinking we'll get a global testfire event eventually, but this event may be way too soon for that sort of thing. That may be reserved for like early 2022 direct for a spring testfire and like a summer release. Either way, I still think a Splatoon 3 trailer is 100% going to be there, even if it's very short and sweet, and maybe we might see it during the Treehouse. Now let's quickly go over Zelda as a brand and its anniversary. I think Twilight Princess and Wind Waker ports are coming in a double pack this year, but I find it hard to believe that Nintendo would announce it here at E3. Think about it, Skyward Sword is a $60 remaster of a 10-year-old Wii game. If Twilight Princess and Wind Waker are truly coming in a 2-pack, that's 2 games for the same price as one game. And a lot of people agree that Twilight Princess and Wind Waker are better games than Skyward Sword, but that can be subjective. I kind of think they'll wait until after the release of Skyward Sword HD to announce this double pack, but I can also imagine a reality where they are shown at E3 to celebrate the 35th anniversary of Zelda. I'd say it has around a 50-50 chance. As for the anniversary, I'm thinking they'll finally acknowledge it and use E3 as a kickoff to a several month-long celebration of Zelda, beginning with Skyward Sword next month. I also think we might see a free Nintendo Switch Online Zelda game. I'm not sure whether that is some new version of Four Sword Adventures, or something closer to Mario 35 and Tetris 99 and Pac-Man 99 and all of those. I think NSO is going to get some sort of Zelda offering, even if it's shown at a later date though, and I'm sad to say it's probably going to be a limited time release like Mario 35, which sucks. Now let's mention Animal Crossing New Horizons real quick. This game sold 30 million copies in an insane amount of time, and the post-launch contents have been underwhelming. I'm hoping for a big juicy DLC update trailer. I do not care if it's paid DLC or a free update, I just want new content to keep me playing. Give us a multiplayer island in the same form as Tortimer Island, give us the city from City Folk or a downtown shopping district, upgrade Nook's Cranny, expand the museum, add Brewster for God's sakes. There's so much potential for New Horizons updates, and I hope Nintendo jumps on the opportunity, but knowing them, they'll drop some unexciting holiday trailer for the same fireworks festival we had last year. I say there's a 50-50 chance of an exciting Animal Crossing update. Now before moving on to the biggest potential announcements, I just want to touch on some smaller IPs that may have a chance of appearing in sort of a speed round type thing. ARMS 2 could be in the works in my opinion. Do I think it will be shown here? No, probably not. Mario Rabbids 2 is talked about a lot, and I could see Ubisoft announcing that at their own E3 for a summer 2022 title, but I'm not very confident it will appear in Nintendo's show. The only way it will be in Nintendo's Direct is if Ubisoft announces it in their show before Nintendo has their Direct, and Nintendo casually mentioned that it exists in a sizzle reel or something. And now WarioWare. Will it be shown at E3 with a new installment? I think it's not very likely, but I'll be bold and say there's a 50% chance. It's about time we finally get a WarioWare designed around the Switch, I think. But again, I could also see that being announced at a later date. And finally we have Star Fox. Many people think Star Fox is on its way out and sort of going down the same path as Mother and Earthbound and F-Zero, and I don't really agree with that. Star Fox has yet to make its debut on the Switch, but I think it's only a matter of time until the next installment. But I don't really think this Direct is the one. And no, I don't think Pikmin 4 will finally be revealed either. I'll quickly touch on Bayonetta 3. For some reason, I don't really think we're going to see it here. I don't know why, but I've heard absolutely nothing about that game, and I'm just not very hopeful that we'll see it. Especially since it was announced like 4 years ago almost, and we've heard absolutely nothing about it. I could see Bayonetta 3 being a good fall Direct segment, but I'm just not sure. I'd say it's about 30% chance of showing up here and finally showing us some gameplay. And when we finally see it, it better blow us away for being silent for this long. And I forgot to mention this while writing for some reason, but I just remembered that Monolith Soft exists. We know they're working on a new IP and possibly the next entry in the Xenoblade franchise, but I honestly think this E3 might be a little too soon to see what Monolith is working on, especially since they are helping with Breath of the Wild 2. At the very least, we'll get maybe like a Prime 4 light teaser with just a logo in maybe a year. I say there's around a 25% chance of that though. Now onto the bigger Megaton showings, the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It has to be here, it just has to. It's been nearly 2 years since it was announced in a cinematic trailer, we've heard next to nothing about it since. And I think there's a chance Aonuma chose to not show Breath of the Wild 2 at the February 2021 Direct because he wants to show the new trailer on the Switch Pro, but after recent events, this may not be as likely anymore, unfortunately. My hopes for the game are playable Zelda, more traditional dungeon elements, enough map changes to where it feels significant, a darker, more intense story, and expansive underground and maybe underwater exploration, kind of like what we've seen recently with Horizon Forbidden West. I was not that annoyed with weapon durability system in the first game, but I would enjoy seeing that tweaked a bit. I'm expecting a good 3 to 5 minutes to be spent on this game. I think this will be Nintendo's big blowout game. As for a release date, I hate to say it, but signs are pointing towards a 2022 release. Several industry insiders have said it will not be ready this year, and I find it difficult to imagine that Nintendo would have Breath of the Wild 2 have a shorter marketing cycle than Skyward Sword HD, so I'm going to predict a March 2022 release to mirror the original release of Breath of the Wild back in 2017. And now for the game that I think will be the closing One More Thing announcement. I think that it is finally time that we see Mario Kart 9. I have a few sources telling me it could potentially launch this year and maybe even close to the new Switch hardware launch. Not sure how accurate that info is, especially after recent events regarding the Switch Pro. I think the Switch Pro could still launch this year, but I'm doubtful of it being shown before E3 now. At first, I originally thought Mario Kart 9 would be a good summer 2022 game at like the earliest, but who knows, it could launch this year. I think we are way overdue for a new Mario Kart, and it's the perfect game to showcase 4K and the new graphical capabilities of the Switch Pro. Still think the game would be a huge announcement even if the Switch Pro is nowhere to be found though. I know I for one would be jumping up and down screaming at the sight of a new Mario Kart. I was in the 7th grade when Mario Kart 8 launched on Wii U. I'm about to be a junior in college now, which is insane to think about. It's definitely time for a new game in the series. I think it would also make for a good treehouse segment to get people hyped. I don't think I have much else to say about Mario Kart, but it would absolutely blow me away if it happens. I'm going to yet again be bold and say it will be 100% the closer of this Direct. And to close out, I'm going to do my best to attempt to fill out Nintendo's release schedule for the rest of 2021 and half of 2022. This will definitely not be accurate, but I think it'll be fun to look back and see how much I get right, or how much I get terribly wrong. We know that June 2021 is Mario Golf and Game Builder Garage, July is Skyward Sword, August has No More Heroes 3. I'm going to say 2D Metroid's also August. Twilight Princess and Wind Waker 2 pack is September. Switch Pro Mario Kart 9 October. Sinnoh remakes are confirmed to be November, and now Shin Megami Tensei 5 seemingly confirmed for November. I'm thinking December could be that rumored Donkey Kong game, but Mario Kart and Donkey Kong could swap places though. January is confirmed to be Pokemon Legends Arceus. I think February could be Metroid Prime Trilogy or the new Kirby game. And I definitely think March 2022 will be Breath of the Wild 2. And I think April or May could be that Fire Emblem remake. And May or July will be Splatoon 3. That's probably as far as I'm going to try and predict. Prime 4 and Bayonetta 3 can fight to see which one will be the holiday 2022 game, I guess. Overall, I'm very, very excited to watch this E3. It feels so good to finally have it back after 2 whole years. I have a bit of concern though, because what if Kirby and Donkey Kong both stay 2D? If we get a new Kirby, DK, and Metroid games and they're all 2D, I could see that being a bit disappointing even if all those games could still be phenomenal. I'm fine with Metroid being 2D since we have a new Prime on the way, but I really hope Kirby and Donkey Kong take a risk and do something new with their formulas. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this lengthy list of predictions. I'm so glad Nintendo finally decided to announce their E3 Direct. I'm crossing my fingers that I'll be able to watch it live. God bless all of y'all. See you next time.